Okay, so welcome to everybody. This is the 10th and last seminar that we have been organizing through the INVESTMED project, co-organized by LUMSA University and the Euro-Mediterranean Economists Association. Today, the topic it's sustainable finance and entrepreneurship. And in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting topics that are right now around the sustainability and the implementation of different business models aligned to sustainable criteria. So my name is Cynthia Chave. I'm a project coordinator at EMEA. And I'm pleased to moderate this session and also to present you the three speakers that we have today. Our panel is composed by three of them. They are experts in also tackling sustainable finance from different perspectives. So I'm glad to have you all of them here. So let me start with Tanya Duarte. She's a sustainability consultant. She's a research fellow also at EMEA, and her main research it's dedicated to sustainable finance and sustainable development. She's co-author of international publications and conduct recent culture on banking. She's also co-author of the book, The Financial Sector and the Sustainable Growth, the New Finance for the 21st Century. So she holds an MBA in finance from Porto Business Schools, and also a post-graduation degree in sustainable development. Tanya, you will guide us first vision about what it is sustainable finance, and then we will go into more deep details with the next panelist. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Let me try to share the screen. Just sorry a second. Sure. I think I'm sharing the screen right now.
Yes, very good.
So, good morning. Thank you, Cynthia, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. I'm going to start with the topic of sustainable finance, as Cynthia mentioned, as it represents a catalytic power for the achievement of the energetic transition, environmental protection, and social development. There's something reason. Okay, so in mainstream economics, the social and environmental factors have been traditionally considered as not relevant to the business plans of projects, products, and companies, and were generally dismissed as externalities. However, when deciding whether an entrepreneur is worthy of receiving funding, a sustainable financial provider would take into consideration its social and environmental impact in addition to their financial performance. This would provide a better and more integrated assessment of an enterprise in the long term, bearing in mind the lasting benefit of the client, but also the society at large. In a nutshell, sustainable finance means better development and better finance. Better development as development that is concerning the long economic sustainability. There is sustainable in each of its economic, social, and environmental dimensions, and better finance, and as an overall financial system that is focused on the longer-term stability, as well as material, environmental, social, and governance factors, and its role in which they operate, that addresses rising social inequalities and respects planetary boundaries. The global financial crisis exposed the urgency of financial sector to acknowledge environmental, social, and governance risks. Has also the urgency to give purposefulness to its role in creating value in a meaningful, positive impact to shareholders, stakeholders, society, and real economy. Sustainable development includes a strong green component. Other sustainable criteria are often less prominent, but they should not be neglected, as they can potentially contribute directly or indirectly to the transition towards a new economic model that supports the development of a more environmentally low carbon and climate resilient economy. But how can the needed change to achieve sustainable development be accelerated? Sustainable finance can accelerate the transition to a low carbon and climate resilient, equitable, and values-based economy. These commitments and deliverables have been identified under the Paris Agreement, which stresses the urgency of global response to the threat of climate change, environmental degradation, by limiting the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and require the largest investment efforts. Additionally, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are a call to action to end poverty and inequality, protect the planet, and ensure that people enjoy health, justice, and prosperity, can be orientation points through their 17 goals associated with 169 targets, and are designed to form a blueprint for good growth national and internationally by 2030. Green economy can serve as a vehicle to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The integrated view of ecological, social, and economic development can be concepted in a new way of being the Sustainable Development Goals, as seen in this image, known as wedding cake model for the Sustainable Development Goals. Here, the foundation of economies and societies is a healthy biosphere, with a second tier with goals related to a fair and just society, and a third one related to the economy. It states that there are some non-negotiable sustainable development goals, such as the goal 6 on clean water and sanitation, goal 13 on climate action, goal 14 on conservation and sustainability use of oceans, seas, and marine resources, and goal 15 on life and land, which focus on managing forests sustainably, halting and reversing land and natural habitat degradation, combat desertification, and stopping biodiversity loss. According to the authors, this model illustrates the effort towards making the economy serve society within the safe operating space of the planet. So the concept of green economy is not new, and there is no international agreed definition or consensus about the subject, but it underscores the economic dimension of sustainability. However, the green economy might provide a response to the multiple crises that the world has been facing in recent years: climate, food, and economic crisis, with an alternative paradigm that offers the promise of growth while protecting the planet's ecosystems and contribute to poverty alleviation. Sustainable development implies that economic development is both inclusive and environmentally sound, and to be undertaken in a manner that does not deplete natural resources such as the oceans, on which societies depend on in the long term. The blue economy is central to the green ecosystem, as oceans influence all natural cycles and are also involved with economic sectors directly, for example, fisheries sectors, or indirectly, such as energy, agriculture, tourism, waste, and water management. Therefore, the blue component of the green transition to a more sustainable global economy cannot be overlooked. As they say, you cannot go green without blue. The Mediterranean region is widely recognized as one of the world's most sensitive and at environmental, social, economic, political, and cultural levels. A key challenge for green economy business involves reducing the unsustainable use of natural resources, improvement of resource efficiency, and adoption of clean environmental technologies and industrial process. Its development would ensure the implementation of innovations in sustainable production systems and environmentally resilient practices. The job creation that could arise from small and medium-sized enterprise faces a challenge on development of the skills, knowledge, and competencies required by green economy and their integration in business and communities. Small and medium enterprises can contribute both to sustainable growth by providing jobs in accordance with environmental requirements, as well as in areas that would strengthen tools for the transitioning to a green and blue economy, such as the technical support, legislative, fiscal, regulatory, and any with a sustainable dimension, and to inclusive growth by making jobs accessible to vulnerable people, as well young people with skills on information computer technology solutions. The Mediterranean is facing systemic risks due to environmental pressures and the physical impacts of climate change. The increased average temperatures, the changing patterns of rainfall, the sea level rise, and the risk of desertification will impact water resources, biodiversity, human health, and resource-based industries, such as agriculture, aquaculture, or fisheries, as well as services such as tourism. Approximately 1/3 of the Mediterranean population is concentrated along its coastal regions. However, with population growth combined with growth of coastal peri-urban hubs, generate multiple environmental pressures caused by increased demand for water, energy resources, carbon emissions, and other forms of pollution, waste generation, land use, and degradation of habitats. These pressures are amplified by activities such as tourism, which is often concentrated in coastal areas, and obviously by climate change. Furthermore, the socioeconomic and political instability represent extraordinary changes for governance and makes the region highly vulnerable to climate change. Climate change affects issues the need for adaptation strategies, which include the managing of natural and human systems and mitigation strategies, has intervention to reduce drivers of climate systems, for example, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adopting renewable energy sources like solar, wind, hydro, biofuels, and sustainable use of land and forests. With regards to cooperation among different actors, there is a challenge, but also an opportunity in realizing synergies between the work of local, national, and regional players and stakeholders, as well as strengthening regional cooperation among relevant stakeholders group of business, for example, NGOs and policymakers, or even peers. Green business models build upon conventional business models. It is important to look to examples that demonstrate the value and the ability of green business models in developing and emerging countries. However, the key challenge is to scale up and across the positive impacts across sectors and organizations. Scaling up will allow populations, especially economic vulnerable people, to benefit from innovative ways to produce and consume green products and services. In order to take advantage of the opportunity offered through green business models and multiply these green business models, it is important for entrepreneurs and businesses, as well as supporting stakeholders, to understand the scaling up process and associated factors. However, to develop, implement, and scale up green business models, there are technical, market, economic, regulatory, and other barriers to be aware in each country. It is certainly a big challenge for our green economic business to face those barriers, establishes a relationship between the policy targets and relevant environmental, social, and governance dimensions, and deliver products and service with a better economic, environmental, and social value proposition. And finally, the access to sustainable finance. Last November at COP26 conference, One of the most important issues was green and climate finance. The concern about financing the green transition and avoid the climate and humanity catastrophes came along with the consciousness that hundreds of billions would be needed in the next decades, especially in developing countries. There's still the risk that traditional finance continue to do business as usual, even when try to present themselves as sustainable, which can be detrimental for green entrepreneurs for the access to investment from financial institutions. For green entrepreneurs, raising capital attract private investment and or access to funding for their projects and business can be presented as limited without the needed support from public administrations and extended network. The access to sustainable finance is an enabler to empower Mediterranean small and medium-sized enterprises on social, environmental, and sustainable livelihoods. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very good introduction to the topic. And as you're mentioning, right now we have COP27 on next November, where will be crucial to make some step forwards on this commitment from the private sector, I will say. So all these sustainable finance around the implementation of new infrastructures or the businesses that require to add their forces into this transition in order to make it more impactful, more in a transformative way. Thank you, Tanya. I will only ask you, so from your point of view and the research that you are developing on the topic, which of the regional policies do you think could be a good path to encourage in the upcoming years and decades?
Well, there are a few policies that some of them could relate to each other, and some of them can kind of surpass, have different views. But I think one that is more important is to think about to start with ones that defend what is in the base of society and economics, because without having ecological healthy system, we cannot provide we cannot go to the second space to the society and help to business to develop and consider all these environmental, social, and governance factors, and also to have the results in the economy. So I think the policy that defends, and we still looking into the Paris Agreement, we're still looking at the other deals that are made in different parts of the world, and they are still connected with the first ones that were defined in COP21. So I think if we keep it to the simple in the way that this is the main goal and we can develop from there, I think they are the more important policies. I wouldn't mention any specific one or name of the policy, but I think especially because there are different velocities in different parts of the world. You can see the progress that is made on, for example, the difference that we see it would happen in Europe and would happen, for example, in the Mediterranean as itself. So try not to mention that specific, but I would say that we can look at the ones that start all these changes in terms of sustainability and sustainable finance.
Thank you, Tanya. I think the scheme that you show about how identifying or understanding the SDGs through the economic, society, and the biosphere, it's quite interesting. Thank you. So we will continue. Thank you. I will give now the floor to Kwame. He's a partner at KPMG in Ghana. He's internal audit and risk and compliance specialist, and has 18 years of experience working across different dimensions in the internal audit. He has very wide knowledge around risk assessment and management, and how to apply precisely the ESG methodology. So he will explain us from his point of view and the work that they have been doing through KPMG, and I will go directly to you, Kwame, please. I think that you have. Okay.
Yes, I'm here. So thank you so much, Cynthia. My video connection is not the best, so I'll probably speak off video, but I'll do a
yeah, no worries.
So
okay, I think that we can hear you, Kwame.
Excellent. So yes, I'm projecting my screen. Just give me a second. Please confirm when you can see it.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Excellent. Right. So I think my outline is pretty simple, but just listen to Tanya. It's interesting that she's gone through most of the things I'm going to say in the intro. So I probably really won't spend too much time in the intro, but just to say that if you look at the work we're doing in Ghana and even globally, I mean, ESG, how we term it, I mean, in sustainability is something that is really transforming the entire business environment and everything that we do. I think primarily we at KPMG, when we look at ESG, what we do is we say that it's a really new dynamic where businesses must look at risk and opportunities from a non-financial performance perspective. So now the different stakeholders who are important and we'll look at them are looking at organizations' strengths and resilience from other non-financial factors. And this is super critical. And I think a lot of this has already been mentioned by Tanya. In just the components for the ESG, I think the environmental part for many of us is really common, and we really are aware of it. The social impact part is also really common to most of us. But I think the new dynamic, which is really our license to operate, is the governance part, where it's simplified to say that you need the right governance structure to drive better business in the sense that as an organization, you realize the impact you're making to society, the impact you're making to your environment, and this must be spearheaded by the right governance structure. So for us, that's how we look at it. Now, this slide for me is crucial because the first thing to do is to identify the various stakeholders. And if you don't know what stakeholders are looking for as a business, you won't transform because we are all used to profit-oriented processes. Now, we do have, I mean, the customers who are really the heart of the value chain, demanding ethical practices, responsible practices, right? And these things must be demonstrated clearly that we as an entity, we are giving our customers the right information. The capital market, I think, is very, very, very direct. Everybody sees that. I mean, if you want to get discounts, you want to access the capital market, you're going to be demanded to demonstrate your capacity and ability to have these ESG clear points. Now, regulators is what is really interesting because the regulators now are demanding that entities, especially within the highly regulated industries like banks, insurance, and others. But I think as an entrepreneur, if a bank is looking to apply ESG principles, it's going to impact the way they view you, the way they treat you. So again, it's important to identify the different stakeholders and what ESG means to them. This slide is also another interesting one because there's a survey that we did, KPMG, between 2021 and 2020. And as part of our CEO Outlook, where we speak to CEOs about, I mean, key risk and opportunities that's impacting them. And it's really interesting to see that if you compare 2020 to 2021, the key risks have changed dramatically. And if you look at, for instance, 2021, you're now looking at cyber security risk and environmental climate change as a key top two. You even go to supply chain risk. Compared to 2020, where we had talent, supply chain, and then return to terrorism. So you can see the dynamic of environmental is becoming very, very, very strong. The supply chain point is becoming you need to understand what impact your partners are having on society. So this is really to give you the sense that the overall business dynamics is changing towards cybersecurity, environmental, social, and governance issues. Now, the case here to have entrepreneurs or entities adopt ESG, I think, is something that is clear. Just to summarize a few of those points, research have shown that companies that are ESG pro are typically more resilient. They're resilient because they take time to understand their risk and opportunities. They take time to understand things that are uncertain about what they do, and therefore they typically can maneuver whatever obstacles that are coming. For instance, we just had COVID, right? There may not be another COVID, but there will definitely be another catastrophe. Now the question is, companies that are really aware of what impact they make, how they run their business on the governance side, how they impact society and the environment, are typically more resilient. And again, this point here about improving risk management is a fundamental point in running the business. Risk management is not necessarily a bad thing. What it is, risk is basically the uncertainty with regards to you achieving an objective. So the more intelligent you are about a particular happening towards your objective, the stronger you are, the more sustainable you are as a business. Growth becomes more sustainable and better because you have clarity of your suppliers, your stakeholders. You're able to manage for instance, your finances better, and you get good rates. I mean, we've done work here in Ghana where we've done sustainability assurance work, where banks are giving significant haircuts to entities who are demonstrating some ESG principles. And this is something that we've done here in Ghana locally. Now, how do you, as a business, go about integrating this whole ESG principles into your business? Believe me, this is a cultural shift. I mean, it is really, a culture shift is not something that you just approve policies and move on. You must change mindsets. You must change how you do things, and you must change what is important to you, right? So the typical process goes through really assessing where you are today against where you need to be. And the benchmark must be looked at through the lens of something like the UN sustainable goals, or things that will make you more responsible as an entity. You have to assess that and understand from a materiality perspective, where are you as a business? You now move on to say, how do I design over the long-term period? As I said, there's a cultural change, so it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. How do I design a framework or a strategy that's going to support my overall implementation, that will fit your model? Again, there will be guidance from regulators and other ESG the directors, but you as a business must understand your own unique value propositions and how you want to get there through your ESG strategy. Now, to operationalize it is where the challenges are. It basically means changing how you do business, changing what is important to you, and getting people within the critical elements of your business to think and act differently. And this operationalization is typically where the hard work is. What do you reward internally, externally? Who do you partner with? What message do you put out there? And the last part is the measurement, where you're able to really assess your progress objectively, and even go to the level where you're doing assurance work, getting entities to come and even validate some of the statements that you're putting out there. And this generally is like a framework that we recommend to go through that maturity process. And again, along all these things must come with good data, because data becomes a serious issue when you need to really report and measure some of these things. It's always better to leverage technology to ensure that you have the right technology, and also policies and procedures obviously must come in to drive consistency and drive that change within that defined set of processes. Now, as I speak about this value chain, the critical thing that comes to mind is the challenges that you will see, or things that we have seen in the market for entities that have tried to adopt this whole framework. I think that the first one is the governance, which is probably the most important. I mean, getting your roles and responsibilities clearly defined in response to your overall ESG objectives. Getting your board members and senior executives to understand the value and why it is to transform and move from just normal profits to other impacts that in the long term will make the company better. The second one is being able to put together a strategy and embed the ESG strategy with your current strategy. Typically, as a business, probably have a medium to long-term strategy. Now, embedding that strategy into your ESG strategy sometimes becomes really challenging. So you need to really do a diagnostic, as I said earlier, and make sure that mapping is done really well. I've mentioned this already, data accessibility. You need to develop a data management framework to ensure that you know what data you're capturing and you're getting yourself comfortable with regards to the quality of the data. And this data is typically a huge issue. Why do you think this data is correct? How would other people look at it? What do you need to report? And the disclosures again becomes the good thing is that I think this has become a huge craze going. Most of the regulators and others are now converging to make sure that the disclosures are around certain specific KPIs. And then I think as we move on to early part of next year, we'll see GRI and others combine and make sure that these disclosures are easier and clearer for everybody to monitor. Now, just moving a bit on to, and again, as I said, a lot of these were spoken about, just moving on to the sustainable finance for entrepreneurship from these lens, as I've just spoken to you with regards to why ESG, what ESG is, the process to get there, and I've also touched on some of the challenges. I think as a business, it is really, really important to understand that the traditional business models are going to be very, very different than today. And these business models are not sustainable because we don't typically know the impact that we are making on society, okay? Investors and portfolio holders, are demanding things differently. There's a huge focus now on renewable energy resources. Policymakers, regulators are driving this agenda, so nobody can run away from it, right? Nobody can run away from it. Everything here, I think I've spoken about it. We lack clarity around this green financing. So as an entity, you need to seek this clarity and you need to tap into regulators. I think one of the things that most regulators struggle with is that when they put out directives or regulations, entities pick them up and they want to do a checkbox exercise instead of trying to implement them within their own frameworks, right? There's a huge maturity mismatch. With regards to entities and regulators drives and also the green financing framework. This maturity mismatch makes it a bit challenging to really align the requirements of entrepreneurs and also those financiers. Now, this is just another survey from a report in 2019, the UN Participation for Action on Green Economy. It's quite interesting. It was a study done on green finance in Ghana. And what you see here is that the high scale, which is the red one, you see that there's points around the maturity mismatch, which is clear, as I discussed earlier. The lack of domestic green investors. And I would assume that some of these points are still relevant to your jurisdictions as well. Lack of the requisite technology to drive this and improve that whole sense of transparency and disclosure. These are all challenges that we identified through this study that was done here in Ghana. Now, this slide is what should give us all comfort that there's a significant emergence of the green financing. And if you look at the trend, sustainable green debts issued globally went from 250 million to 700 700 billion in 2020, just in a matter of 2 years. It's projected to go up to about $5 trillion in 2025. This creates great opportunity for all of us to tap into it. And as I said, if you think through the mismatch, we as entrepreneurs and other stakeholders must all ramp our knowledge around this whole green financing to ensure that we leverage and tap into this opportunity. With this 700 billion bond, I can tell you that the entities that were ready and capable to take advantage of it were not much because of the maturity mismatch. So this is just to indicate how vibrant and how important this sustainable financing process is. Now, in conclusion, I think what I've done is taking you through a segment of ESG, really telling you that the governance part is what is your license to operate, because it's going to drive everything you do from the social and environmental part. As a business, you can't sit and wait for regulators to give you the direction or whatever. You need to be proactive. You need to embrace it, because the opportunity in there is huge. And if you get that sense early and then drive that, it will improve your business, and eventually you have a more robust and resilient business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you very much for this presentation. And to going more in the detail about what it is about the ESGs. I think that let's remember that our main audience today, we have colleagues that have been developing through the training program organized by LUMSA University under the framework of the INVESTMED project. And they have been looking how to drive and to prepare their business ideas in order to achieve a more alignment to green and environmental approaches. So for sure, I just want you to ask you, because you mentioned one thing that I think it's crucial about being in a resilient thinking approach. That means that even though that they are starting a business idea, even though that they are developing and implementing an action plan in this thing, it is important to be well prepared for any circumstances in certain things that could appear, right? So from your experience, Kwame, what do you think that now from an entrepreneurship point of view, what would you recommend or for them to take a special attention?
Thank you. Good question. So I think it's super critical for entrepreneurs to really, first of all, understand the impact of this whole ESG. And specifically, the point I'm making is that entrepreneurs should really understand the regulatory drive and what is expected of them from a regulator, and especially the financiers. What are they looking for? They're not looking for just simple words that I made this impact. They really want to see that the leadership of their entities are totally involved and understand the overall direction, that there's a deep commitment. At the end of the day, it's all about commitment. As I mentioned earlier, it's a cultural transformation. So nobody expects you to move from A to Z in 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Kwame. I think, okay,
the
so
demonstration of that.
Yeah.
The demonstration of that will be having an ESG strategy developed in hand. Say that this is my strategy, this is my long-term strategy. So this is one thing that I would say that everybody should rally around getting a strategy developed. Thank you. Thank you,
Kwame. Okay, so we'll be back again with you. There is a few questions on the chat. I suggest to all the attendees, please to put them out. When at the end of the panel, we will read them and others to each one of our panelists. So let me introduce you now to our colleague, Laura Ciso. Yeah, Miro. She's entrepreneur and founder of 4 companies. She's CEO at Bridge the Gap, and she's passionate about clean technologies and business creation. She has been a professional on energy, And currently she works closely with the deep tech startups to contribute to the projects going from lab, from a pilot to market. So through consultancy, bridge the gap. So she has a wide experience engaging European public funds through research and development and innovation projects, and of which 90% of those for deep tech startups from the programs EIC, the Accelerator Horizon Europe, SME Instrument, EIT, Health and Funding Support for third parties. So Laura, she will give us more an idea for or guidance how to address this entrepreneurship and to drive into a more proper way. Please, Laura, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia, for the presentation. I'm going to share my screen. It's here. Please just confirm that everything is okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, very good.
Oh, okay. Well, good morning to everybody. My pitch today is directed to entrepreneurs that have the idea to bring an innovation to the market. And well, in this path, from the idea to the market, surely you will need to explain, to tell a story. To do that, well, it's very important to prepare a good, sorry, I think it don't work. Okay, it's important to prepare your pitch. What will be this story? Why is this important? Why do you need to invest energies, resources, and times to prepare your excellent pitch? Because at the end, this pitch, it's your first presentation to your potential investors. At the end, you want to raise money from them. You want to create confidence on them in order they invest their money in your idea, in your business, and your team. And this is a matter of meeting, connection, and matching. And at the end, you will put on your boat someone that will be working close to you for a long time. Then this is a question of persuasion. And today I will give you some guidelines about how to reach it. I will divide my presentation in two parts. In first one, I will give you 7 tips to raise this persuasion. On the second part, I will give you a structure of your pitch deck, of your slides presentation based on a 7 minutes pitch deck. Well, first of all, communication is what the listener does. In fact, you are going to tell a story, but the important thing is the story, okay? But the most relevant thing is the listener. If you don't know your listener, nothing will work. You need to know what is he expecting and how to connect your story with the listener and how to connect your story also with your goals and make the match between both things. In that sense, it's very important you know your audience. You know to have a clear idea about what they will expect from you, and you have to keep the attention. This is a challenge. This is not silly thing, but also my advice is not to link only with the rationale. Probably your investor is looking for a return of investment. It's about numbers, but I am sure that in the early stage financing rounds, in the seed rounds, most of the decisions are linked with emotion. Then with your pitch deck, you have a great opportunity on that. My recommendation is you need to connect with a common feeling of common people. For instance, if you are creating a business related with pollution, how to reduce the pollution in the world, well, try to connect with the sons of your audience. Everyone have a son, or everyone have been son. Then surely your audience, the investors in the public, are worried about how to bring a better world for the future. Connect with these universal truths. Other example, for instance, if you are making something to reduce the pollution in the air, then try to connect with health. Health is also something that worries to the common people. Try to connect with the cancer effects that pollution is causing. Then, this is something that you have to keep in mind in your pitch. The third point is about simplicity, clarity, and focus. Less is more. This is a real principle that always works. Keep few ideas, but keep it very clear. It's difficult because entrepreneurs want to explain a lot of things. They're in love of their business. It's good that it must be in that way. But remember that the most important thing is the listener and the time of the listener. Then do not lose time of the listener explaining things that are not valuable. I want to bring you an example. One of the consultants on pitch making, relevant consultants from Silicon Valley, his name is Brendan Baker. He's an entrepreneur, consultant, and also he's an amateur photographer. He prepared a pitch presenting his portfolio as photographer, and he brings only three pictures of his work as photographer. And the public said, okay, well, he's an amazing photographer. He's excellent. He's great. He's very amazing. Then he tried to put 10 pictures of his portfolio in another presentation. And then the audience said, well, okay, he's a pretty good photographer. And finally, he did another trial, and he put about 100 pictures of his portfolio. And the result of the audience was the following. Oh, okay, he's an average photographer with only 3 good pictures. Well, then the message is, keep simple, keep only the ideas that are valuable, cut all the stuff that is not relevant, is not a highlight. And also another recommendation is try to attract the attention of the investors for the question part, because always you have a time for pitch and always you have a time for questions. Well, next message is to build conscious statements. Be professional from the beginning. Say only the things that provide content and provide message. Avoid buzzwords, avoid paid phrases, and be determined. I am here. This is who I am. This is what I am going to do. And this is those are my achievements. Be clear and be determined about what are you presenting to the investors. Next step, you have to provide certainty, confidence, and credibility. The most easy way to do that is to support on data, on facts, and on some hypotheses. Probably you will need to present information about the future. What will be your forecast on sales? What will be your forecast on the market, on the future market? Okay, you are guessing. But if you base on data, on sound hypotheses, on credible hypotheses, then you will build this credibility around your story. One thing that help to do that is related with my next recommendation. Cross the river on the stepping stones. When you are saying to the investors that you are going to achieve different milestones and different goals, and a lot of them of that, promise that will you do the next achievement base supported on your existing achievement. Have a clear milestone roadmap. Where are you going? Where are you pretending to arrive? But show a clear idea about where are you at the moment, and how will you do the next step, the next jump. If you base this information on the achievements that you have already achieved, that you have at the moment, you will build this credibility that it's very, very important to convince your investors. And finally, show because you are unique. There are a lot of entrepreneurs. Investors see thousands of pitch decks along the year. Most of them provide credibility. Most of them based on facts. Most of them promise brilliant solutions. But if you want that the investor remind you, if you want the investor be eager about knowing more about your business and your ideas, you have to be very clear because your idea is unique and it's different from the existing products, existing solutions on the market worldwide. Well, from here is my part of the presentation, and now I am going to start the second part. It's more applied, and well, it gives you an overview about what information you can include in your slides, in your pitch deck, for a 7 minutes pitch deck structure. First of all, you need to talk about the problem. What is the pain of your potential customers? This is crucial for the investor. If the investor does not understand it from the beginning, from the first 10 seconds, 20 seconds, then your story is completely overthrown like a sandcastle. Then you have to need a clear message about what is the market opportunity, how big is it, because there is explain why there is a problem, why there is a pain in the potential client segments do you aim to tackle, to address. This is the first thing that you have to put the effort on, make it very, very clear. Secondly, go to the solution. Do not lose time of your listener. Why are you, how will you provide a solution to this real crucial problem? How will you solve the pains of your clients? And how will you bring some gains, some additional benefits to your clients? And also explain in which status you are. Important. If you have traction is the goal for the investors. If you have traction, show it from early in the beginning in your slides. Put the logos of your clients, of your customers. In spite it's only maybe a pilot, or if you are developing some minimum viable product, it don't mind. If you have a proof of willingness to pay from a potential customer, if you can show that you have already validated your idea and the market interest by a proof, by a conceptual project, by a letter of interest, show early from the beginning. Do not wait until your 10 slide. Early in the beginning, it's the perfect time to show that you already have traction. Then talk about who are you, which is your team. Remember that the team, it's not positions in a organigram chart, organization chart. Team is people. What is his background? What is his track record? Has the people in your team experience in building another business? Has the people in their team experience in sales, technical experience? Which other companies they have been involved in? And also talk about your partners. Team is also partners. Who is trusting in you? Have you been participating in acceleration programs? Have you received awards? Have you and other investors on board already? Show all of this because it provides proof that somebody have already trust in you. Somebody have already assessed your business in the same way that your existing audience, your potential future investors are assessing you right now. Well, now it's important also to have a clear picture about how big is the market, how is this market, how are the trends and dynamics in this market, and the investors want to know how well you know it, how you have calculated this market, how is your sales positioned in this market. It means what will be your market share when the business will be completely operational. Calculate the market, please calculate the market in a bottom-up approach from your clients, from the number of clients do you want to achieve, at the price that you expect to sell, and how it will be growing. It's nice to have a picture about what is the market, what the market is. Top down, it means you can search in a big study what is the potential market for all of your business worldwide. It's good, this big number about billions, but also calculate from bottom to the top, how will you reach this big goal. Next one, competition, what the others are doing. Please, never say that I have no competitors. I am the unique on that. Don't say that. Show why you are unique and why you are different from the competence, because I'm sure that other people have been thinking, have been creating a business similar to the one you aim to bring to the market. Well, another important thing is, what is your business model? What will be your revenue model? And how will you make money? This is important for the investors. They want to know what type of revenue are you planning? You are planning, if you have a software, maybe you have a monthly recurring revenue for subscription to your software, or maybe you have a license agreement if you are more dealing with hardware, or maybe you are selling a small product for final customers in a B2C business. What is the price? Is this unit? How do you compare with competence? Are you cheapest, or are you positioning in premium category and you have a expensive price, but with a lot of functionalities that make you feasible to enter in the market? Investors, also show if you have validated this revenue model with the market. Is the market ready for your prices and your business model? Is the market willing to pay for you? Something that you have to state very clear in your pitch. And then you are a startup, investors want to see this hockey stick profile on your sales. How will you ramp up your sales in the next 5 years? And this is a matter of scalability. How will you scale your business? In which achievements you will support to provide credibility about this scalability is feasible, is possible, and is plausible. And also, if you maybe not in the early stage, but in the more mature stage, you have to talk about your business metrics, how you aim to have this customer retention, the customer acquisition, what are the costs, what is the monthly recurrent revenue. All of these metrics are very relevant to the investors. And also, what are the risks you are facing on creating this business? Show the risk. It's not a weak point to have risk. It's a strong point because you have identified it, and accompany this risk with your mitigation plan. And finally, do not forget to explain to the investors how will you expend the money they are bringing to your business. And finally, have a conclusion and bring them 1 takeaway, 3 takeaways, something that make the investors to remember of you. And I am going to do it now because we are writing at the end of the pitch there of my presentation. And well, those are my 3 key messages. If you are building your story, remember it's not only about rational, it's emotional. Keep it in mind. Second, build credibility, supported on real facts, on achievement, and go in stepping stones, crossing the river. And finally, well, if you are preparing your pitch deck, your slides, and if you have opportunity and if you have traction, if you have partners, if you have someone that have already trust on you, show to the investors that another people have already trust on you. That's all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Laura. It's good to have an overview. Which are those key elements to consider when preparing the presentation to an investor, for example. So you were mentioning exactly that teams are a key part of the business, not only the numbers and the profit that you can achieve. But in that sense, what would you recommend to our colleagues that are addressing or trying to reach different kinds of investors or companies that trust in their idea? Besides not only about the, going right now from your experience with different startups, you have experience on innovation, for example. So how does innovation, it's getting really mainstream on this and leading, reaching, as at the same time we were commenting with Tanya and Kwame, these sustainable challenges, no? Societal challenges plus environmental. So if you can give in a glance how this, of course, gives an added value, but some examples that you could share of successful stories.
Yeah, in fact, innovation in the green technologies, in clean technologies, and all of the topics related for energy transition, for instance, for climate change mitigation, also to tackle all the climate changes that are happening and how to address, for instance, the phenomena that happens on the climate and how affects this risk. Also, all of the topics related with green energy, batteries, hydrogen, new technologies, all of these topics that are related also that requires deep innovation to succeed in the market, now are crucial. And not only for private investors, but also for the public investment, because they are very aligned with the policies in the European Commission, for instance, to bring all of these innovations in the society, and to bring this research to the real market to enable a transformation of the society. There are, on one side, there is the public investment from the European Commission that through the policies is pushing this kind of innovations, but also there is the private investors that are focused on sustainability, also because they want to be aligned with ESG principles, and they want to bring the money towards this transformation of the society to more clean future, more sustainable future, aligned also with the United Nations goals. Then, to sum up, I think there is money from private sector, from public sector, and this money is trusting on entrepreneurs, on brave entrepreneurs that will accelerate this transition and this integration of deep technology in the society, because they have a more fast rhythm than the big corporations. And then it's an opportunity for them, I think.
And for example, because of course, most of our colleagues are from Egypt, Lebanon, and Tunisia. So how do you envision a common partnership probably, and how this entrepreneurship around the region could also have opportunities to encourage themselves, or to, if there is, especially for those that are having an internationalization strategy?
Well, in fact, most of investors, or well, some, my recommendation is, okay, go to your country, go local. First, go local, understand local, what are the opportunities local, start from local, from your public authorities locally, and maybe with your few investors locally. So I understand sometimes the ecosystems in certain countries are not so mature that in other countries. No, it's not the same in maybe, I don't know, for instance, in Spain, it's not the same as in Israel. Ecosystem in Israel is more mature than ecosystem in Spain. This is the situation. Then my recommendation is start local, but then go global. Nowadays, through internet, through LinkedIn, through social media, we have the opportunity to connect to a lot of investors globally, in the United States, in Europe, in China, maybe in other countries in Asia, depending on the location of the entrepreneurs. And also for the investors, it's the same. The investors, the venture capital start local, but they start to open global, and they start to go to another countries. Then my recommendation is look what is on the scene, and look at what is the approach of the different investors, and then try to knock the door of those that are aligned with your approach.
Okay, thank you, Laura. So I will ask for our colleagues, Tanya and Kwame, if you can open your cameras. There is one question from our colleague Yagane. It's for Tanya, but also if Kwame or Laura, you want to give your impression. So Tanya, how can we obligate financial actors to go green and avoid the business as usual model currently practiced, as you will mention before? So do we have examples of good practices in terms of monitoring green investments and assess their efficiency?
We know that some financial actors, they like big banks, they announce billions and commitments to environmental finance and to green investment. But in terms of examples to monitoring those commitments and to obligate them to change the course of business as usual to something that actually fulfill the needs of the green investment and the green economy, for example. What can I say is that, for example, in the European Commission, not that they obligate in the way that to practice, they set a long list of policies and frameworks to implement it. But at some point, for example, for any bank they try to go to the core activity of the bank. If they finance, for example, fossil fuels, they will have more risk. They need to retain more capital. They will less productivity. So they go into the core of those banks. In a certain way, kind of create a condition to make them choose a different path. And there's a duality between the banks, the financial institutions, and even the companies, because, for example, there are the obligation to be companies that explain that, present their sales and their green turnover. So that information also fits the banks that also try to reach in terms of investment. But there is no kind of, there is a lot of monitors, but they are from NGOs, and so that kind of expose this. One thing that is important is to look at those players and those actors, those financial actors, and see what they disclose in terms of public information on their reports, and so we can build information for themselves to understand who is in the run for green investments or not. So, certain way, there are some examples in the Europes that could be looked at and could be helpful to transfer the same to different areas.
Okay, so like you, in which sectors, Tanya, mainly?
In terms of, I was saying, in terms of financial actors, like financial institutions, we have, for example, some big banks that actually don't, that only go for a small thing of fulfillment of those needs, and have the kind of banks that fulfill more of those needs. They are with different, they have different values. They don't, their main thing is not maximizing the profit, which is this dual actors that can carry on with this kind of investment and funding. But these are the financial institutions, but we also have the European Commission that is that is monitoring how they doing and asking for more information and things that could affect their productivity, which means they could do better. And actually, if they say they are sustainable, they could act like a sustainable bank.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. I don't know for this if Kwame or Lara want to remark something.
Maybe I can add some ideas. Well, from the private investment, from the venture capitalists, it's very difficult that somebody obliges a venture capitalist about how they have to do with their money at the end. But it's a reality, it's a dynamic of the market, it's a trend that at the end, the venture capitalists are they due their activity to their lead partners. Lead partners are those people, individuals that have put a money in a venture capitalist, and the venture capitalists have to invest this money in startups and business opportunities. Well, and in fact, the lead partners, the individuals, the private ones, it's a trend, it's a reality that the people wants that the money will be invested in clean technologies, in energy transition, in business aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Then I think it's a trend on the market, it's an opportunity on the market for venture capitalists to, in fact, have their roadmap, have their strategy aligned with this kind of investments nowadays. How they do then, there are a lot of examples, there are a lot of venture capitalists that they state in these in their investment thesis, and they make it public in the website that they only invest in sustainable business. Because at the end, it helps them. It's making now, maybe now it's only a marketing strategy, but it helps them to attract money from the individuals to later invest this money in startups.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Laura. So in a way, would be good to have a track of these and monitor which are those entities that are following these criteria, and to also to make a good impact and to attract others to follow the same. Mm-hmm. So just to, because we're close to the end, I think okay, let me ask. So there's another question from Shadi Constantine. She said, for my understanding, each entrepreneur should solve a problem, and his idea must be unique in order to attract investors, and his idea must be concise and credible to the audience. Yeah. Yes, I think it's what Laura was explaining before.
Good summary. Yeah, good summary, good understanding. Thank you.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest questions probably, or the concerns when dealing with different kind of opportunities to find not only to build a networking, because also what you're commenting is how the partners, the partnerships that you build around your business. Mm-hmm. So I think it's. I would like to raise your opinion and to have a remark about how relevant is this inside the company or the organization, the team effort, of course, but then how to make more this monitoring about the good impact that you're creating. How should be the best channels to drive? Because we could think about indicators, monitoring, so showcasing your performance, or could be, as you were mentioning, Laura, more in a marketing point of view, or should be more even as a policy or as a distinction that you achieve, like a distinctive by any reliable organization giving you that you are achieving these approaches. So I would like to know from your side and your experience, what do you consider would be the best and probably the tendency on visualizing these impacts?
Well,
sorry, no, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah. Well, there is not only a point. The good thing is if the entrepreneur has it in his culture, in his essence and his nature, put in the strategy, have it clear in the business plan, and try to go through all of the different channels. What channels they have? One is metrics. Make public your metrics, your achievements in your website, in your social media, in your communications. Other is attend to acceleration programs. It's very important. Attend to acceleration programs in, I don't know where, internationally, in the country, in the city, that it's interesting, that are aligned with sustainable development. Go there, because attending to acceleration program of this type will give you first a mark, like a stamp, and secondly will connect with investors, with partners, with potential clients, with that culturally, if in the same mindset as you, related with sustainability. And also about when you are looking for venture capital money, well, there are a lot of sources of information, list of venture capital, list description, and try to connect with the venture capital that are aligned with your culture. At the end, it's not only money, it's smart money. And it's the mate that will put you on your boat. Then try that this partner is aligned with your culture. Also, I want to suggest or recommend a good certification that it's named B Corp. B Corp is a certification for companies. Maybe you have been talking about that in your project. And B Corp, it's a general certification that helps to build your strategy aligned with ESG principles. And it's a very good thing for entrepreneurs and startups.
Thank you, Laura. Kwame, do you want to add, or we hear the question from Chadi?
I think we can go ahead and hear the question for Chadi.
Okay, so because we have Shadi, please, if you want to raise your question. I think you're muted.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. So I think I make mistake. I raise my hand. This is, but it's a useful webinar in terms of information and knowledge, and I get a good conceptual how to make a pitch deck. So you can provide the material in order to prepare our pitch deck in order to pitch in a professional way.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, the material, you will have it, yeah.
Oh, okay, amazing.
So, Chadi, one question. So you're, if you can give us in a glance, which is the kind of a business idea that you're developing?
Me, e-commerce platform. So for me, I sell Mediterranean outfit, souvenirs. This is my idea. So I cover for the moment the MENA region, let's say Lebanon, Jordan. This is, but I want to expand outside Beirut or outside. I want to scale my business internationally. Let's say to Europe, to France, to Spain, Italy. This is
Very good, Chadi. So yes, I think that this it's relevant to fit on these to create the value. I don't know if Kwame, Tanya, do you want to raise a final remark?
Maybe I'll take. I mean, I'll go back to the earlier point. I mean, I thought we didn't have time, so I wanted to but the key takeaways that I just want everybody on this session to go away with, one includes that this ESG is real and is relevant. Okay, how do we say that? If you look at the presentation that I went through, there's a significant trend in terms of money that's being allocated for green related issues. So and the growth is astronomical. So as an entrepreneur, for you to really play a part in that, and I think Laura and Tanya, have both said it, you have to be clear with your strategy and how you do it. I mentioned earlier, it's not a sprint. You're not going to go there from today to tomorrow. It's a medium to long-term gain, but you need to demonstrate the commitment that, first of all, you understand the principles, or you are seeking to understand, and you're going on that trajectory. More importantly, I think if you look at putting together a strategy and you attempt to implement it, the rewards will come. The opportunities are there. I mean, the challenge is that there's a lot of players now trying to regulate and put out information. But I think, as I said in my presentation, as we move on to next year or so, I believe that there'll be a lot of consolidation around the principles in terms of what to measure, how to measure it. But that stamp that Laura talked about is important. You need to be seen as an entity that is relevant in the ESG space. And if you're seen as that, I mean, the examples are many. I said in my presentation that there's a company here in Ghana that got significant cuts on interest rates for borrowings, huge in Europe. And all they had to do was demonstrate alignment and compliance thereof for certain ESG principles that they set and agreed at the beginning of the project. And they were very successful. So thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kwame. Tanya, final remark from your side, please.
Thank you. Well, from my side, and agreeing, and both of the colleagues said most of the things, but yes, it's important to bear in mind the environmental, social, and governance aspects of the business. Try to understand which are their main goals and principles and values, and be loyal to it in a way that don't go for a one size fits all, and certainly go there and try to, try to put him in a greenish way. Just try to understand what is the purpose of the business, and find the right people to work and to pursue that business to concretize in something that actually make the difference in terms of sustainable development.
Thank you, Tanya. So thank you very much for the three of you. I don't know if my colleagues, Yagane or Rim, they want to raise any further comment.
Always good from my side. Just there is one point in the Q&A that somebody wants the link for B Corporate certificate. It's from Noor.
Oh yes, if you can have the, maybe yes, we can find it and share it with you. I think that Laura commented this about the B Corp certificate. Okay, so just to remind to everybody, we will share with you the record of this session and the presentations, of course, from Kwame, Tanya, and Laura. And just to thank you on behalf of all the INVESTMED project, and especially from Lumsa University and EMEA that have been working on this series of seminars. And we will come back with upcoming activities, and we will let you know. So if we already have the list of contacts, so we will reach you and give you which are the upcoming activities, and also remember to be on the INVESTMED platform. I think that that it's going to be a good way to also continue interacting with your colleagues during the training cycles, but also from the other training cycles of the other editions. So thank you very much to all, Tanya, Kwame, and Laura, and hope you have a good day, and see you soon.
Fantastic. Have a good one.
Okay,
Take care.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.